Alright YouTube, so it's been a while since we had some Final Fantasy VII Remake news, so I thought I'd go through and make a video about 7 things that I want to see with the remake. Now the number 7 is only significant because of the game itself being Final Fantasy VII. People make 7 list videos all the time for this game, so I figured I'd finally make one as well. Now, to be honest, I could probably make a lot of these videos because there's a lot of things I want to see from this remake, and I might, down the road at some point, make at least one, like 7 things I don't want to see from this game. Now, on to the video. Now, these aren't really in any particular order, but the first one is probably the one I want the most, and it's more Zack fair. It's probably a little biased because I love Crisis Core. Crisis Core was such a great game. Now, obviously, in the original game, they didn't show a lot of Zack fair, but that was the first game in the series, and they made Crisis Core, years down the road, which added more story for Zack, so we know more of his story. And I want that to be incorporated into the remake, because we get, like, a few scenes or something of Zack from the original Final Fantasy VII, and now we know more of what actually took place before the events of Final Fantasy VII with Zack, more of him meeting Cloud and things like that. So we need that incorporated into the remake with either flashbacks or playable scenes or something, or even, and this could be, people might bash me for this, but maybe they come out with the DLC for the remake where you get to play like almost a remake of Crisis Core. You get to play like Zack's story as maybe like a prequel DLC or something. I'd be perfectly fine with that. I would pay money for that because I want to play it. Because of Crisis Core, Zack is more important to the story than the original game gave him credit for. I mean, he even met Yuffie in that game, which, obviously they couldn't address in the original game because they didn't have the story of Crisis Core yet. But you meet Yuffie when you play Crisis Core, and that could maybe come up in just a quick little bit of dialogue whenever Cloud finally gets back his memories and realizes that he's been thinking that Zack's story is his, and he could talk about the way he looks or something and things he's done. And maybe Yuffie can be like, oh, I think I met that guy once. And that'd be fucking awesome. That'd just be a cool way to allude to Crisis Core. And because of that game, we learned that the Buster Sword wasn't originally Cloud's. He actually got it from Zack. But also in that game, we learned that Zack didn't even own the sword originally. He got it from Angel, who got it, passed down to him from his, father or whatever. So there's a lot of history behind the iconic sword that Cloud has, but it was never originally his. Now, on to my second want for this video, and that, it kind of falls in line with Zack fair and Crisis Core and stuff, but it's just more prequel stuff in general. There's a lot of events in Crisis Core that are important. You get a more in-depth look at Sephiroth's downfall whenever he goes to the Shinra Mansion, locks himself in the basement, starts to research about Genova and all that shit, and starts going crazy and becomes the evil Sephiroth that we all know today. Now, they touch on that a bit in the original game, and I'm sure they're going to do it more in depth, but it's just something I want to see. There's also the character Genesis from Crisis Core, who's absolutely one of my favorite characters in the FF7 universe. And pretty much his story in Crisis Core is he's kind of jealous of Sephiroth because Sephiroth is a hero. He's the strongest guy ever. And he's jealous of that, and he wants to be a hero just like Sephiroth, so he pursues power to become as strong as Sephiroth. And he's the main antagonist of the game. And he didn't exist, obviously, when the original game was made. And since, obviously, Sephiroth is going to be in the remake, and I'm assuming Zack will be in the remake to a better degree than he was in the original game, Genesis is very crucial to both of their stories, so I think he needs to be represented in the remake to some degree. And if you guys have ever played Dirge of Cerberus, which is another game in the Final Fantasy VII universe, it takes place 4 years after the events of the original game. And there's a secret ending to that game with Genesis. Genesis does not die by the end of Crisis Core, and there's a secret ending at the end of that game where he gets awoken, and I can't remember the character he grabs, but he grabs him up in his arms, looks up to the sky, and flies up into the moon, and that's it. That's the final scene that we have in the entire universe of the Final Fantasy VII universe. And we don't know what's going on, and I want to know what happened in between the events of Dirge of Cerberus and at the end of Crisis Core, so I want him to be in the game to some degree. Now, some other prequel-related stuff is the game Before Crisis, which was an old cell phone game. I don't even remember when it came out. Obviously, it came out after the original game. But it has to do with the Turks, which are the guys in the black suits who are some of your other antagonists throughout the original game. And it's a story with them, but it also has characters from Avalanche that aren't even in the game in Final Fantasy VII. It has Barret involved, it has Sephiroth, it has Zack, it has Cloud. So it has a lot of, you get a little more backstory on Red 13, which I think is kind of important. You get to learn how he gets the scar across, I think it's left or right eye, whichever eye it is. And I'll be completely honest, I don't even know what all happens in this game because it's an old cell phone game. There's probably a ROM or something online to play it, but I've never done that. But I've seen some people talk about it a little bit in videos, so it would be important just to get the backstory on, some more story on the Turks and some more story on Red 13. And whatever Cloud and Barret are involved, and Zack and Sephiroth, I think that's important to get as much backstory on all these characters that we can. Now on to number 3 of the things that I want for the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it kind of relates to the prequel stuff, it's the sequel stuff. At least the events of Advent Children. I don't really care so much for Dirge of Cerberus. It is kind of weird. There's some good characters, you get a lot more story for Vincent Valentine, but I don't really care that much about Dirge of Cerberus. But Advent Children, I think, was fucking amazing, and this could be either be like, once you beat Sephiroth, you know, like the usual ending to Final Fantasy VII, maybe there's the after story. A lot of games have after stories where you can explore the world and do whatever you want. So maybe with that, you can like skip forward in time, or maybe start a quest, or whatever would trigger it, and it goes 3 years in the future, and you play the events of Advent Children with Kadaj and his 2 brothers, Geostigma, Kadaj drinking some Genova cells or whatever and turning into Sephiroth. You find Sephiroth at the end. The fight with Bahamut Sin in Midgar. Like, there's a lot of content. The fight in the Forgotten City with Kadaj and his brothers. There's a lot of content from that movie that could be made into a video game. Either an after story or maybe, again, another DLC, which I would pay money to fucking play. Now, on to number 4, and while Zack Fair stuff might be the one I want the most, this one is probably the most important. You have to have the world map. I kind of mentioned this in a previous video. I don't remember which video it was. I mentioned the game being, I wanted the game to be open world, and a lot of people fucking got mad at me. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, every Final Fantasy, like, from like Final Fantasy IX and back, even to the first Final Fantasy, has technically been open world. You had the entire world to explore. Now, I'm not entirely sure what exactly about the concept of an open world upsets people. Who wants a fucking linear game, dude? I want to be able to explore. Whenever we leave Midgar, I want to see the entire world, just like the original game. Whenever you leave Midgar, you spawn outside on the world map, and you can just kind of explore. Obviously, there's not a whole lot to do, because it's a PlayStation 1 game, but by all technicality, that was an open world game. You had the entire planet to fucking explore. Who does not want that? That's crazy to me that people got mad. Now, along the lines of exploration, I want Midgar to be flushed out. I want Midgar to feel almost like a Grand Theft Auto game. I want that shit to have all kinds of streets and buildings I can go down and into and walk around. Now, if you watch the gameplay trailer from the 2015 PlayStation experience, I'm guessing it's after one of the reactors explodes because there's like rubble and fire and stuff. You see Cloud running down the streets, running up and down stairs. There's pedestrians on the sidewalks and stuff, like walking and sitting. Like, I want that. I want it to feel alive. I want it to feel like an actual fucking city. Because of course, being a PlayStation 1 game, there wasn't much to the slums or any part of Midgar really, and I want it to feel like it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be this crazy big fucking city. There's 2 levels to it because there's the top half with the rich people, and there's the lower half with the slums, which is where you guys reside most of the Midgar story. And when it comes to Midgar, there's 8 sectors to it, and we fuck with maybe like 2 or 3. You fuck with like 5, 7, and 8, maybe 1 or 2 more, but that still leaves a handful of sectors we've never even seen. It's like they had this huge concept of what Midgar is, and we barely get to see any of it. And I would love to see the top half and the bottom half explorable. Like, I want to see what the fuck Midgar's about. It's supposed to be this hugely advanced technological city, the most technologically advanced city in the entire planet of Gaia in Final Fantasy VII. We got to explore a little bit of the top half of like Sector 8, I believe, in Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, but it wasn't a whole lot, but it was a good concept of what a kind of an open world could be like, what it could look like if we could walk around the streets of Midgar, and it was nice, it was fun, and you get to explore a little bit of the bottom half too, some of the stuff you already seen in Final Fantasy VII, so Crisis Core showed us a little bit of what an explorable Midgar could be, but there's so much more to the city that they need to let us explore. And there's a good chance, because the game's going to be in parts, that we play like the first little bit of Final Fantasy VII, and it ends when we escape Midgar, and then maybe like the second half is when we get to be able to explore the entire world. So if the first half of the game is going to take place in just Midgar, you need to make that shit huge and explorable. Now, obviously, the Midgar stuff was number 5. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. But for number 6, I want to see the weapons. Now, what I mean by that, in case you haven't played Final Fantasy VII, is in the later half of the game, later portion of the game, whenever the planet's in danger from meteor striking, these giant monsters are beneath the planet, and they come out to protect it whenever it is in danger. And they come out to what you think is going to protect the planet, but they start going on a fucking rampage. There's a good handful of them. There's like 4 or 5 or 6 or something like that. There's a good handful of them. You fight, I think, 2 of them for sure in the story. Going through it in my head, I believe there's 5 of them, because there's one in the water who gets his fucking head blown off by the Junon cannon. You never fuck with him. There's, I believe, Diamond Weapon is his name. You fight him near Midgar. He's like marching out of the sea towards Midgar, and you actually got to go on the world map, run into him, and fight him. There's Emerald Weapon below the sea. There's Ruby Weapon that's in the desert around Gold Saucer or Golden Saucer. I can't remember the name. Somebody critiqued me on pronouncing the name wrong. And then there's the one that's flying around who he attacks, I think it's Mediel, and you fight him. You got to last long enough for him to like leave the fight, and then you can run to him with the airship later on and fight him. So I believe there's 5 of them. But anyways, you fight like two of them in the story, and the other ones are like one gets his head blown off, and the other 2 are optional bosses. They're a cool concept for the game. It's always nice to have good, strong optional bosses to test your strength and stuff. Because usually, like I'm pretty sure Emerald Weapon and Ruby Weapon are stronger than like Sephiroth at the end of the game. So you want that. You want a super boss who's stronger than the end of the game. That's like a Final Fantasy staple. And along the lines of having the weapons in the game, and they have to be in the game, they're such a staple, and they're one of the most iconic parts of Final Fantasy VII. So if they're going to have them in the game, what I want from Final Fantasy VII is more to scale enemies. Now, they were the weapons were a lot bigger than your characters on screen, but they weren't as big as they probably should have been. Being a fucking gigantic monsters that live below the planet who come out to protect it when it's in danger, they need to be a lot bigger than our character. They're only like 5 or 6 times the size of what your character would be, and Cloud's like probably like a 5 to 6 foot man, so like they'd only be like 30 fucking foot tall. They need to be like 100 feet tall. And Final Fantasy 15 gave us a good idea of what a gigantic enemy can be, and the action RPG fighting and stuff like that. It's possible, and I want that from Final Fantasy 7 Remake. I want enemies to be a lot fucking bigger than me. It's always fun to be a small little character and take out something that's so much bigger than you are. Look at Shadow of the Colossus, for example. And last up for my wants for the Final Fantasy VII Remake, number 7, is Tifa's big-ass goddamn titties. I need that in my life. Okay, not really, but I do want that in the game. There's talk of them potentially reducing her breast size, because people were triggered by that in 2015 when the news of the game came up. I made an entire video about that. You can just search like Dashing David Tifa boobs or Tifa SJWs, whatever the case. It's on there. It's one of my more popular videos. It's a very important discussion that I hold dear to my heart. But my actual number 7 is Sephiroth's God forms. Now, the reason why these are on my list is, for one, we don't know if they're even going to have these at all, because this is the only time you ever see him depicted in these forms is in the original Final Fantasy VII, and it was an old 90s game, so they're going to have weird, crazy creatures for you to fight, and pretty much every Final Fantasy back in the day had, like, a god you fought at the end, or something that's the equivalent of a god. But I don't know if they're going to have that in this game. I could see them just having you and your party fight just regular-ass Sephiroth. Maybe he changes into something, but I just don't know if they're going to have the giant forms you fight at the end of the game. Now, the first form you fight, it's pretty cool, and you fight them with 2 separate parties, which is the only time you do that in the game, if I'm not mistaken. That'd be kind of cool if you could have, like, 2 parties of, like, 3 or whatever, and fight them just like the first game. But I'm more so talking about the second form. His second form, if you have not seen it for some reason, is legitimately like God. He's a giant version of himself, more or less, but his lower half is like 6 wings coming out of like the lower half of his torso. I think his right arm's an entire wing. He actually has like a halo floating around his head, and you fight him in like an environment that looks almost like the sky or heaven or something. There's like clouds and shit in the background. Like it legitimately looks like you're fighting a god or God, and I want to see that in the remake. I can't even fathom how cool that would fucking look. It looks cool on a PlayStation 1. I can't imagine with today's graphics. I don't know how they would do the fight. My only thought is maybe something like the Leviathan fight from Final Fantasy 15, where you have this giant monster in the middle and you're kind of fighting him in like a circular area, kind of like flying around him or floating around him and fighting him. Like they could do something like that. It would probably look fucking cool doing that anyway. And now that I'm talking about it, this might actually be the one I want the most out of this fucking list, dude. Like, this is, like, I want this that's how you end a fucking game, is fighting pretty much God himself. Now, there actually is a God in the Final Fantasy VII universe, but you don't really fuck with her. You see her in Crisis Core, she's not in the original game, but he's more or less the equivalent of a God, and I want you fucking fight that! God damn it! That's more or less the video, guys. By the time I'm done talking, it'll be like a 14-minute video. Like I said, I could talk about this forever. I can make multiples of these videos. There's 1,000 things I want to see from this game. And I can make a shorter list, maybe 1 or 2 videos, about things I don't want to see from this game. So we might get around to making those eventually, depending on the reception from this video. So hopefully you guys went on to enjoy the video. Let me know your thoughts below. Like, what do you want to see from this game if you're interested in the Final Fantasy VII Remake? Tell me a list of the things maybe you don't want to see from this game as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Turn on notifications. Follow me on Twitter at @the-david. Still figure that out. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
Till it comes to conclusions, all the things that we thought we were losing. I'm a ghost and you know this. That's why we broke up in the first place. 'Cause I want you.